My sister went on vacation with my parents instead of me. She caused a lot of problems during our trip and ended up getting in trouble with the police. Now, my parents finally understand what she's really like. I'm 23 and my younger sister is named Lisa. I think she's really mean. I've tried to tell my parents about her bad behavior for a long time, but they didn't believe me until now. Our family has always had some problems, mostly because of Lisa. My parents love her a lot because my mom had a sad experience before Lisa was born. Lisa is like a special child to them because she came after that sad time. They give her a lot of attention and love, which makes her the favorite in our family. I used to like my sister when we were younger, but as we grew up, I started to see that she's not very nice. Lisa is really good at tricking people and making herself look like the victim. Once, our grandparents gave me a really nice watch for my birthday. Lisa was jealous and kept asking if she could have it, but I said no because it was my special present. She tried to convince our parents, but because the gift was from our grandparents, they couldn't do anything about it. That night, Lisa, who knew I was scared of spiders, put a house spider in my pillowcase while I was asleep. When I woke up, I felt the spider crawling on me, and I screamed. My parents rushed to my room worried, but Lisa acted surprised and caring. Later, when we were alone, she admitted with a creepy grin that she put the spider there to scare me. I was shocked by how calmly she confessed without feeling sorry. Another time, I had a crush on my classmate Mark and invited him over to watch a movie. I was excited and wore a nice dress to impress him. But when Mark arrived, Lisa spilled juice on my dress on purpose and laughed at me. I felt embarrassed and had to change my clothes while trying to hide my shame. Then, Lisa started telling Mark embarrassing stories from my childhood, making me feel even worse. She didn't leave us alone during the movie, and when Mark was leaving, she told him he could find someone better than me. Mark, who seemed uncomfortable, left quickly. I couldn't believe how mean and sneaky my younger sister could be. Over the years, I told my parents about her bad behavior many times, but they just thought she was young and didn't know any better. They couldn't see her for who she truly was. Whenever I complained, they ignored me and thought I was causing trouble in the family. So, eventually, I stopped talking about her. Lisa always seemed to be the favorite child, while I often felt like I didn't quite belong in my own family. I focused on my studies and got accepted into a good college, which was a chance for me to move away and have a better life. But whenever I came back home during breaks, Lisa made it very clear she didn't want me there. She would ignore me, avoid talking to me during meals, and even interrupt me when I tried to talk to our parents. It was like she was trying to make me feel unwelcome and uncomfortable. Sometimes, she would mess with my things, pretending she needed to borrow them, but then she would either damage them or lose them. When I told my parents about it, they didn't do anything and just wanted us to get along. So, I started avoiding coming home during breaks, making excuses to spend time with my college friends' families instead. My parents didn't seem to mind too much and thought I just wanted some independence and time away. When Lisa finished high school, she didn't have the grades for college, so she stayed home and went to community college. Nowadays, I work at a big company in San Francisco and really enjoy my job. I sometimes keep in touch with my parents, but I hardly ever go back home. I don't have any contact with Lisa at all. Recently, my father had a serious heart attack, but thankfully he survived. When my mother called to tell me about it, I immediately booked my tickets and flew back home to be with them. The doctors gave my father lots of medications and told him he needed to start exercising more. Since he got out of the hospital, he's been talking about spending more time together as a family and how lucky he feels to still be alive. I understood my dad's wish, so I decided to stay at our house for a few days. My job lets me work from home, so it wasn't a problem. But I could tell that Lisa wasn't happy about me being back. I tried to avoid arguing with her because we were both older now. One morning at breakfast, My dad suggested we go on a family vacation since it had been a while since we went somewhere together. At first, I wasn't sure, but I agreed because I knew it meant a lot to my dad. Lisa wasn't excited about it, but she had to go along with the plan. My dad arranged everything for our flights and where we would stay. I had already planned my time off from work and told my colleagues not to contact me during the vacation because I really wanted to enjoy spending time with our parents. But when we got to the airport, I found out that my flight ticket had been canceled. I looked at my dad in confusion because he had said he booked and paid for it. We checked, and it turned out that out of all the tickets, mine was the only one that had been canceled. I looked at Lisa, and she had a sneaky smile on her face, just like she did when she pulled one of her tricks before. I realized she must have canceled my ticket, probably from our dad's computer. I started yelling at her, but she just stood there smiling at me. I told my parents it was Lisa's doing, but my mom didn't believe me. She said Lisa would never do something like that and that I was just jealous of my younger sister. She thought it was just a mistake that my ticket got canceled. My father suggested it might be an airline mistake and I shouldn't blame my sister. I was frustrated that my parents couldn't believe their beloved miracle child would do something like this. My ticket was already canceled, and there were no more flights for the day. While I could catch a flight the next day, I didn't want to travel alone or return home and book a new flight. This was supposed to be a family trip, and I dreaded being stuck in a room with Lisa. I hoped she had matured, but if she canceled my ticket, who knew what else she might do to make my trip miserable? At first, my father hesitated, suggesting we all go back home and plan another trip later. But then he started talking about how long it had been since he went on vacation. My mother agreed, saying I always traveled a lot for work, so I wouldn't miss much. Their words hurt. It felt like they wanted me to insist they go on without me. I told them they could continue their vacation if they wanted, and they agreed easily. Even though I didn't want the money spent on the tickets and rooms to go to waste, I was sad they didn't care if I joined them or not. It was clear they were okay with going as a family of 3. So, I stood alone at the airport as they headed off on their much-anticipated vacation. I decided to go back home to San Francisco rather than spend another day alone in our family house. I tried to put the incident behind me and enjoy the rest of my leave. I caught up with old friends and spent my days lost in books, turning my break into a solo adventure. During the trip, my parents would sometimes video call me, and I could see how much they were enjoying themselves without me. It seemed like my absence didn't really affect their trip at all. While I wasn't too upset about missing the vacation, I couldn't help but feel left out. It was another reminder of the favoritism that had always been present in our family. I hoped that someday they would see through Lisa's true nature, and it seemed like my wish finally came true. A few days into their vacation, I woke up to several missed calls from my mother, which worried me. I called her back immediately, and she sounded extremely distressed. She explained that something troubling had happened. My father's essential heart medications were disappearing every day. This was alarming because my father couldn't miss his medication due to his fragile health. They were in a foreign country, and they weren't sure if they could find the same medicine there. My mother had gone to Lisa's hotel room, which was next to theirs, to borrow some sunscreen while Lisa was out. To her shock, she found all the missing medicines carefully hidden in Lisa's bedside table. It was a chilling revelation, and she immediately called my father. He rushed in and found all the medication that had gone missing over the last few days. This was when they realized that their beloved daughter, the so-called miracle child, had been intentionally endangering my father's health and putting him at great risk. My mother asked if they should confront Lisa about this, but I advised her to wait until they were back home. They needed time to gather their thoughts, emotions, and evidence to face Lisa with the undeniable truth. Speaking to Lisa now would be futile as she was a master manipulator and would likely come up with excuses to avoid responsibility. However, Something unexpected must have happened, and my parents must have confronted her about it. I received a late-night call from my father, his voice trembling as he informed me that Lisa was in jail. I was shocked. He explained that Lisa had a full-blown tantrum when they asked her about the missing medications, throwing objects and shouting insults. Her anger was mainly directed at my father, accusing him of booking a ticket for me when he shouldn't have allowed me on their family vacation. She threatened that if they continued to have a relationship with me, she would teach them a lesson they would never forget. Lisa kept lashing out, and the situation escalated quickly until someone from the hotel called the authorities. When the officers arrived, she refused to calm down and insulted them, leading to her being taken into custody. Lisa would be released after 24 hours, and there was nothing my parents could do at the moment. Desperate to return home after Lisa's release, my parents tried to reschedule their flight. However, their plans were foiled when they discovered that their passports and wallets were missing. It turned out that Lisa had either thrown away their passports or hidden them. For now, they were stranded in a foreign country with no passports or wallets. This was the first time my parents started to see my sister for who she really was. My mother, who had always defended Lisa, was now begging me for help as they had no money or documentation to fly out of there. She was overwhelmed, shocked, and distraught at the realization of her daughter's true nature. I assured them not to worry and promised to send them money using Western Union, but they needed to find their passports first. I was certain that Lisa hadn't discarded them. My parents were finally realizing that I had been honest about her behavior all along, and they were grateful my parents were finally realizing that I had been honest about her behavior all along, and they were grateful that I was helping them despite not taking me on the vacation. They apologized for their behavior, and while part of me wishes I could forgive them, it's difficult to shake the feeling that I've missed out on their love all these years because of their favoritism towards my sister. So, I find it hard to forgive my parents for going on this vacation without me and then coming back, begging for my forgiveness. Every day, my parents call me with updates, and I'm growing increasingly anxious about their situation. After Lisa was released from jail the next day, my parents threatened her to give back their passports, or they'd call the authorities again. With no other choice, Lisa eventually revealed where she had hidden their passports. When they returned home, my parents confronted Lisa and told her she needed to gather her things and leave. It had become clear they had reached their breaking point, finally realizing the truth about their daughter's manipulative and harmful actions. They feared she might jeopardize my father's health again by stealing his medicines. Another screaming match erupted between Lisa and my parents during this confrontation. She hurled accusations at them, expressing her anger and resentment. Lisa insisted my parents should disown me, claiming she was more than enough for them. This was the moment my parents realized the depths of her jealousy and how much she resented my place in our family. While they tried to placate her, she continued yelling accusations. In a fit of desperation and anger, Lisa threatened to tell everyone that they had neglected and mistreated her during her childhood if they continued to ask her to move out. This genuinely scared my parents, as these false allegations would put their reputation at risk, especially since they are respected doctors in our community. The fear of their reputation being tarnished by false accusations has left my parents feeling trapped and anxious. In recent days, Lisa has been making their lives increasingly difficult. When she found out they were talking to me regularly, she became enraged and started breaking dishes in anger. What's worse, she keeps stealing their car keys and hiding them, making it hard for them to go to work every day. Just tonight, my mother called me in tears after another upsetting incident during dinner. Lisa threw a tantrum, demanding my mother cook for her. When she refused due to being tired from work, Lisa went on a rampage, breaking furniture around the house. Then she went to her room and blasted loud music, preventing our parents from getting a good night's sleep. The situation is getting worse, and it's taking an emotional and mental toll on my parents. I'm increasingly concerned about what might happen next. While I had hoped my parents would see Lisa's true nature, I now worry she could pose a real threat to them. I can't even return home at the moment because it might escalate the situation further and lead to more explosive confrontations. I'm doing my best to persuade my parents to consult with a lawyer so we can find a permanent solution to this ongoing crisis. The legal route seems like the best way to protect my parents and restore peace to our family. Update. As many of you predicted, Lisa has been arrested. With her escalating behavior, it was only a matter of time. During a heated argument one night, she came at our parents with a knife, terrifying them. They had no choice but to call the police, who swiftly took her into custody, arresting her on charges of assault. With Lisa in custody, our parents decided it was time to pursue a more permanent solution. They consulted with an attorney who advised them on the legal process for evicting her from their home. They filed a formal eviction notice, stating that she had to leave. They knew it wouldn't be easy, but it was necessary to ensure everyone's safety. Our parents didn't want to pursue any charges against her. They simply wanted her to move out. After bailing her out of jail, they handed her the formal notice, outlining all the legal reasons for her eviction and the deadline to vacate. They made sure to follow all the legal procedures so Lisa couldn't challenge them. Next, they went to court with their lawyer to start the eviction process, which meant filing a lawsuit against Lisa. It was a difficult decision for my parents, as they were taking their own daughter to court. They felt sad, guilty, and like they had no other choice. Finally, the court issued an official order stating that Lisa had to leave the house. If she didn't leave voluntarily, they would have the legal right to remove her from the property. Lisa will be out by next week, and my parents can finally breathe a sigh of relief, knowing they've taken a step towards reclaiming their home and peace. It's been a tough journey, but they're hopeful that things will improve once Lisa moves out. I've stayed in touch with them throughout this ordeal and plan to bring them to San Francisco for a few weeks. It's a way to give them a break and let them relax after everything they've been through. They could use a change of scenery and some time away from the stress Lisa has caused. Plus, it'll be a chance for us to spend quality time together, and I want to support them as much as I can. Update. I've received hundreds of comments under my post, and it's taken me some time to go through them. Many of you have suggested considering getting Lisa checked out to see if there might be a mental health issue at play. However, since she's an adult, we can't force her to go for a checkup against her will. Due to her sudden violent outbursts, we don't want to push her and complicate the situation further. As mentioned in my last update, my parents flew down to San Francisco to spend a few days with me, seeking some time away after the last few months' turmoil. Yesterday evening, as we gathered around the dining table in my cozy apartment, my parents began to open up to me. Their voices were filled with humility and regret as they admitted they had been blind to Lisa's true nature all these years. They begged for my forgiveness. My father expressed remorse for not heeding my warnings earlier, admitting they never expected Lisa to turn out this way and failed to see the truth beneath her charming facade. My mother echoed his sentiments, acknowledging the gravity of their mistake and the pain it caused me by favoring Lisa. I appreciated their first step in seeking forgiveness. I shared painful memories of the torment I endured due to Lisa's actions. My parents listened, utterly shocked and dismayed by the extent of my suffering. They regretted the isolation I felt within our family. They explained how their favoritism towards Lisa clouded their judgment, always considering her their miracle baby. With sincerity in their voices, they begged for forgiveness for all those years. It was a bittersweet moment for me. While I had longed for their acknowledgement, it wasn't the ideal way to mend our relationship. Yet, it marked a turning point, bringing much-needed honesty and clarity to our family dynamic. For the first time in years, we acknowledged the issues that plagued us. I told them it would take time to trust them again, and we agreed to work through this together. For now, I plan to cherish the time I have with my family while they're here with me for the next few days. Update. As the days passed, my parents and I spent more time together exploring the vibrant streets of San Francisco, enjoying leisurely meals, and simply relishing each other's company. It's been quite a journey to reconnect with each other and rebuild the bonds that were strained by years of favoritism and denial. I've realized that my parents seeking solace with me wasn't just about getting away from Lisa physically, but about wanting to rebuild the family we almost lost. We all needed a fresh start. My parents and I have discussed what to do about Lisa. Currently, she's staying at a friend's house. Despite the turmoil she's caused, my parents feel a deep sense of responsibility towards her. We understand that her behavior may not just be willful mischief, but indicative of deeper issues. We're considering a mental health evaluation to better understand her condition. However, as she's an adult, we can't force her into assessment. We plan to encourage her to seek help voluntarily. Once my parents are back home, they'll reach out to Lisa to see if she's open to a discussion. I've refrained from contacting her as she still holds a strong grudge against me, and I don't want to worsen the situation for her mental health. Given her past incidents of aggression and violence, I've advised my parents to meet her in a public place to ensure control over emotions. Our primary goal is for Lisa to understand our perspective and recognize the deep love and concern we have for her. It's not about assigning blame, but about coming together as a family to address the issues that strained our relationships.